So imagine this. You've got an artificial intelligence trusted by literally NASA to plan out a 400-meter route for a rover on the surface of Mars. Sounds bulletproof, right? But what happens when that exact same AI accidentally wipes out an entire folder of your family photos on a random Tuesday afternoon?
That's not some sci-fi hypothetical. That actually happened with Anthropic's Claude AI. NASA engineers seriously used a developer tool, Claude Code, to chart out Martian paths. But over in desktop land, a user testing a different tool, Claude Cowork, asked it to organize a folder and watched in horror as it deleted their personal photos just to tidy up. It's the perfect snapshot of where we're at. The massive, raw power of modern agentic AI colliding right into the unpredictable risks of handing over the steering wheel. Let's dive into this explainer and unpack exactly how Claude blew up from a simple text box into this huge, sometimes chaotic ecosystem of autonomous tools.
Real quick, here's our roadmap. 1. The safety foundation. 2. Core chat and subscriptions. 3. Workspaces and artifacts. 4. Autonomous agents. And 5. Institutional power. All right, starting off with Section 1, the safety foundation. You know how most AI models just rely on human feedback to figure out what's good or bad? Well, Anthropic went a totally different route. They literally gave Claude a constitution. We're talking about a core training method called constitutional AI, where the model actually evaluates and revises its own outputs based on a strict set of principles. The whole goal is to keep it helpful, honest, and harmless. And man, this thing has grown. Back in 2022, it was just a short list based on the UN Declaration of Human Rights. But by 2026, it evolved into a massive 23,000-word behavioral blueprint. If you've ever felt like Claude is a bit more guarded or different from other models, this is exactly why. That constitution is the bedrock for the entire Anthropic ecosystem.
Moving on to Section 2, Core Chat and Subscriptions.
Okay, so letting these advanced models run autonomously takes a ridiculous amount of computing power. You've got the main entry point, Claude AI, which has a free tier for casual use. Then there's Claude Pro, sitting at $20 a month for access to flagship models and higher usage limits. And for businesses, Anthropic rolled out team and enterprise plans, bringing in essentials like single sign-on, strict data privacy guarantees, and total administrative control. But the really wild part is those 2025 and 2026 editions, the Max tiers. We're talking Max 5X and Max 20X. These are designed for heavy autonomous power users and cost up to $200 a month. Why so expensive? Because features like agent teams and constant autonomous loops just chew through processing power like you wouldn't believe.
Section 3, Workspaces and Artifacts.
Now, this is a distinction that trips up a lot of people, so let's clear the air. Artifacts are your outputs. Let's say Claude writes a full React web app, or builds an interactive UI, or drafts a heavily formatted document. It pops that out as an artifact in a dedicated side panel so you can see it and interact with it right then and there. Projects, on the other hand, are your workspaces. These are persistent, dedicated spaces where you load up your context. You can dump your brand guidelines, an entire code base, or specific behavioral instructions in there. That way, you aren't manually rebuilding your knowledge base every single time you start a fresh chat. And what makes those projects so wildly capable is this exact number, 1 million. That is Claude's context window. 1 million tokens. To put that into perspective, it means Claude can hold massive amounts of information, like an entire software repository or a book-length legal document, in its short-term memory during a single conversation. You can just drop the whole thing into a project, and it actually grasps the entire context without losing the plot halfway through. It is an absolute game-changer for AI workspaces. Up next, Section 4, Autonomous Agents. So, Anthropic didn't just build one giant do-it-all chatbot. They've actually spun up a whole ecosystem of specialized agentic tools. For developers, there's Claude Code, a terminal-native agent that actually plans and executes coding tasks right on your local machine. For non-technical users, there's Claude Cowork. It has a graphical interface and automates local desktop files. Yep, this is the exact tool that went rogue on those family photos. Then in April 2026, they dropped Claude Design for collaborative visual prototyping and slide decks. And right after that, in mid-2026, they announced Claude Science, a flagship model purpose-built to help researchers tackle cellular biology and drug development. And the way these specialized tools get things done is through an autonomous agentic loop. It's totally different from those basic autocomplete copilots. With tools like Claude Code, you literally take your hands off the keyboard. You delegate the task, and Claude goes to work. It gathers the context, takes an action like editing a file, verifies the result by running your tests, and then just repeats that cycle over and over until it's done or it hits a wall. You're not really pairing with it, you're managing it. It's like having a junior engineer right there on your machine.
Which brings us to Section 5, Institutional Power.
For Claude to actually be useful at an enterprise scale, it can't just live in a vacuum. It has to securely plug into existing corporate systems. Developers can use the standard Anthropic API, sure, but the real breakthrough here is the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. It's this incredible open standard that lets Claude's agents securely connect directly to live databases, internal wikis, APIs, or issue trackers like Jira, all mid-session. It's exactly how Claude can independently pull live data from a staging server to validate a code change.
But dealing with models this smart means Anthropic has to be extremely careful. In early 2026, they developed Claude Mythos. This model was a powerhouse, so unbelievably good at finding extreme cybersecurity vulnerabilities that they restricted it to just a handful of trusted organizations. Mozilla actually used Mythos to find and patch 271 vulnerabilities in Firefox in just 2 weeks. Because it's potent, regular users never got their hands on it. Instead, we got Claude Feeble. It's the public release of that same core model, but strapped with much stricter safety guardrails. If a user asks Fable for something deemed high risk, it automatically downgrades to a less capable model.
Naturally, when you start deploying AI this powerful into massive institutions, you're gonna hit some serious friction, especially with the government. Here's how it played out. Late 2024, Anthropic partnered with AWS and Palantir to bring Claude to defense agencies, leading to a specialized Claude Gov model in 2025. But here's the catch. Anthropic strictly refuses to let their models be used for mass domestic surveillance or lethal autonomous weapons. That policy led to a major clash. In February 2026, the Department of Defense declared Anthropic a supply chain risk and ordered military contractors to phase it out. Anthropic immediately fired back with a lawsuit, and by March 2026, a federal judge issued a temporary injunction against the Pentagon's ban. Anthropic's argument was that the ban was essentially First Amendment retaliation. So right now, it is just this massive, complex legal standoff.
Now, despite all the legal drama and the sheer complexity of it all, Claude's user base is fiercely, almost strangely loyal. Get this, when Anthropic retired the older Claude 3 Sonnet model, a crowd of about 200 people literally gathered in San Francisco to hold a funeral for it. As Kylie Robinson from Wired pointed out, users are treating the model like a confidant, looking for some kind of magic in the machine. As Claude evolves from a simple chat window into autonomous agents living on our desktops, people are developing a really deep, almost collaborative reliance on it. So where does this leave us? We started with Anthropic drafting a constitution to keep their AI safe and aligned. But now, Claude is everywhere. It's expanding from organizing local folders and planning Mars rover routes to sniffing out zero-day exploits and becoming the center of a federal military injunction. As AI makes this massive leap from being just a helpful chatbot to an autonomous agent embedded in our highest security networks, we really have to ask, who is ultimately writing the Constitution?